BC because it's the best choice. I heart BC because it's the best choice. I heart BC because it's the best choice. It's the best choice. It's the best choice. People of diversity, equal opportunity. Let's inspire a generation to create unity. It ain't easy to get a top degree. Your education will get you the top pay degree. Here at BC, we united by one.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Bridge to Life. I am Tron Lippett, joined by Colleen Lockwood, and we are ever so thankful and just ever so gracious and appreciative that you've taken time out of your day to meet with us. You could have been doing anything else today, and you're here to join us for our financial aid workshop. So I'm going to talk about that in a second, but before I do, I just want to thank everyone who showed up yesterday to our mods event. It was a phenomenal event. We had a great turnout, and it looked like all of the students who were there had an excellent time. They enjoyed themselves. There was lots to do. We had vendors for you. Hopefully you walked away with some really cool swag. Maybe you were over swagged out, I don't know. But we're just really happy that everything went off without a hitch. And the movie was great. The movie was great, right? It was Fast and Furious 9, and we know that's something that everybody wanted to watch. So just thank you for participating. Thank you for coming to these workshops. And a lot of you have been to more than 2 workshops, and that makes us feel even better. That way we know, it just confirms that we're doing some good work here. We're doing some good work. So, all right, today we're talking about financial aid, and you also see the word FAFSA. I'm gonna cover FAFSA a little bit about it, but we're really going to get into financial aid, and we're going to lean over into awards, ways of providing monetary award and gain for yourself while you're in high school, and also for those of you that are planning on going to college, which I hope everyone is, but also while you're in college, ways that you can support yourself in college. So thank you everybody for joining. I'm going to share my screen, and let me make sure to share sound as well. That's important. And I will pull up my PowerPoint, and we'll get started right about nowish. And while I'm doing that, let me just explain one thing regarding tonight's presentation. So we know that some of you are moving into your senior year of high school. So we thought, you know what, let's change tonight's conversation. Instead of walking through the FAFSA completely, let's talk about some specific areas of the FAFSA application and financial aid in general, because the next time that you're going to have, or the first opportunity for seniors, those that are going to be seniors in August in the fall semester, seniors in high school, the first opportunity you'll have to complete the FAFSA is October 1st. So there's no need in walking you through step by step the FAFSA application. And I also know we have some juniors here, some other grade levels on as well. So we're going to talk about some key areas of financial aid. And I'm going to talk about some other ways of awarding yourself while you're in high school. Some of you may have heard of this stuff. Maybe you haven't. Maybe it's your first time. All right. And before I go any further, I'm sorry, and I'm actually going to stop share for a second. Can everybody do me a favor? Can you put something interesting in the chat? I think every night we say put your name, grade level, all that stuff, but just put something interesting that you want to share with us. Maybe plans for the weekend, something that you're going to do on the weekend. Just drop something in the chat so we can get some activity. And if this is your first night attending one of our workshops, let us know that as well. That this is my first night here. All right. So I just want to make sure to put that out there. We like to know that kind of stuff. All right. Resharing my screen, and we're going to jump right into tonight's presentation. So we're talking about financial aid, which scholarships ties to directly. And there are 3 types of financial aid that you should be aware of. One is institutional awards. And as you can see, a quick description of that, a need or merit-based award provided by a college or university. So I'm going to touch on all 3 of these throughout the night. The main one we're going to start with is FAFSA, which is funding that is available exclusively to students attending a post-secondary educational institution in the United States. And then the third type of award, private awards, are awards funded by companies, service groups, foundations, organizations, and even individuals, donors, sponsorships. But we're going to focus on the one in the middle first. We're going to talk about FAFSA. So these are the 4 types of financial aid award when it comes to completing your FAFSA. This is what you are completing it for. You're finding out if you're eligible for grants, loans, work study, and scholarships. But before you even complete the FAFSA application, and I'm going to explain each of these, and we'll save scholarships for last, But before you complete the FAFSA application, the first thing that you need to do is create an FSA ID. Now, if you are a dependent, which most of the students that complete a FAFSA, especially out of high school, most of you are, then you need to create a FAFSA, an FSA ID, and so does your parent or guardian, okay? Both of you need to do that. I have a quick video that's gonna walk you through the process of creating the FAFSA, the FSA ID. While that video is playing, I'll pause from time to time to see if we have any questions, but then also just to point out some notes that I've noticed regarding the FSA ID process. So first I wanna make sure, Colleen, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so again, I'm gonna start this video. This is how to create an FSA ID, all right? And it's very simple. The FSA ID consists of your personal contact information, and then for the most part, you're securing that information by creating custom questions, unique questions and answers that only you and your parent or guardian have the answers to. Once you've created your FSA ID, everything's emailed to you, and you use that signing, you use that signature, or you use that ID rather, as the signature on your FAFSA application. So that's why there is no FAFSA application. You can't complete the FAFSA application until you've created the FSA ID. So here's what we're gonna start with first. This video is gonna drill down a little bit more. And like I said, I'm gonna stop throughout these 3 minutes and 17 seconds to explain a few parts. So we'll get started now. And already, I'm gonna stop and point something out. This first one is very important. You don't create an FSA ID for anyone else. You create it for yourself, and then your parent and or guardian creates one. And see, it says parents should not create an FSA ID for their child and vice versa. So I just wanna point that out. That's very important. Each of you needs to complete one independently. So when you reach this first page, this is not the FSA ID, I can promise you. This is basically creating the username and password or the login information to access the full FSA ID form. So that's what this is. If the FSA ID was this easy, then I'll just show you this and we move on. But I'm just letting you know this is what you create, this is what you start, this is how you start the FSA ID process, all right? You're creating your username password. And as you can see, it's a lot of personal information. So you're just creating that stuff, and now what they're doing is having you create a personal information portal, or sorry, web page where you're just entering more personal info. On the previous page, you probably noticed the social security number. So yes, you need to have a social security number in order to complete the financial aid application, the FAFSA application. And when you're creating the FSA ID, obviously you need to know what that number is. So just be prepared. When the time comes that you create your FSA ID, make sure you have that information handy if you haven't memorized it like I have, because I memorized mine years ago. And by the way, you can create the FSA ID now. You don't have to wait until October 1st. You and your parent or guardian can sit down and create this today, this weekend, next week, next month. And what we'll do is we'll share this video link with you throughout the night. So let me go back to where I left off. All right, so this video is almost done, but I do want to point something out. Question 1, challenge question 1 and challenge question 2, they have, I guess, predetermined or pre-written questions, for lack of better terms, listed in the drop menu. But for question 3 and 4, you're creating your own questions. So think of things that are personal to you, near and dear to you, the name of your favorite animal, your favorite dog, your favorite birthday, your favorite cartoon character, whatever it is. But create questions that are very easy for you to remember. All right. Mom and dad's birthday, that may be a little too easy, but things along that nature. All right. So favorite soccer team, favorite football team. All right. But I think you get it. All right. Always just read everything. You're going to hear me say this several times. Read everything you do. You need to click this button. Oftentimes people come to this page and they click continue and they say, sir, nothing's happening. Well, you need to certify that you read the information and read through it. You know, just read through this stuff. I mean, you have to click that button in order to move on, but you should always know what you're reading. All right, when it comes to verifying, you're going to receive a code via your phone. So make sure your phone is charged and it works. You'll get that code and you'll enter it in the secure code box in the center of the screen, as you see. All right, so that's the process of creating. That's the process of creating your FSA ID. Okay, so it looks very simple, and believe me when I tell you, it is very simple. It's just that simple. They're going to ask for a lot of personal information, and you'll enter that stuff, and then they're going to have you create custom questions. So if you have a parent that has a brother or sister who's gone to school, chances are the parent has already created their FSA ID. The first thing I would do is this, and you want to write that down. You want to write this down. If the parent doesn't know their FSA ID, that's fine. Have them go through their email address before they sit down with you to create this FSA ID. And say, hey, mom, remember when my brother or my sister went to school and you did the FAFSA thing? Do you remember the FSA ID? No? Okay. Let's go through your email account and type in FSA ID confirmation or just FSA ID. And you should be able to find that. One thing that students and parents, not one thing that you do wrong, but something that students and parents don't do enough of, there we go, is writing stuff down, remembering your password, remembering the simple things. So once you create your FSA ID and your username and password for that site, write that down immediately. Store it in your email, store it in your phone that we can always go back to it, okay? When you get an email, take a screenshot of that email and maybe save it in a document folder somewhere and put it on the desktop, because you know at least for the next year, you're going to need to refer back to that, all right? So before I jump into a little bit more about the FAFSA and the FAFSA awards, does anyone have any questions about the FSA ID? And you can put it in the chat. I'll open up the chat now so I can read, or you can also unmute and ask if you have any questions about the FSA ID. And Colleen actually mentioned this in the chat. Make sure that you're using the name exactly as it's written on your social security card. Absolutely. Excuse me. Everything needs to match. Okay, I think we have something in the chat. What if I don't remember my ID? Great question. So there is an option on the FSA ID that says forgot FSA ID. And it also says forgot password. All you do is click that option and they're going to take you back to the screen where you wrote your custom questions, right? Again, that's why you created those custom questions for security purposes. That way no one could just log in and take your info. So when you go to fsaid.ed.gov, and I'll put that in the chat, then you're going to click Forgot ID or Forgot Password. So fsaid.ed.gov. As soon as you go there, you'll see Forgot Password, Forgot Name, Forgot ID, and it'll take you through those series of questions. If for any reason you're not able to answer those questions, then the easier thing is, and I'm going to probably promote this number a few times. Colleen, I'm going to get to that question in 1 second. The easier thing is to call the financial aid government customer service line. This is not a third-party company. This is our government line that handles all things FAFSA related. So the number is 1-800-433-3243. And I put that in the chat. Now you can literally call this number and they'll walk you step by step through the entire process. But the trick is this: you want to press, as soon as you hear the voice prompt, you want to press 0. And typically you have to press 0 3 times in order to speak to a live rep. So you'll call that number, you'll get the voice prompt. You can follow through in the voice prompt if this is your first time, sure, take your time and go through it. Or you can press 0 3 times and it'll take you to a live rep. And again, they'll help you with any area of the FAFSA that you need help with, whether it's the application itself or the FSA ID creation. Colleen, let me go to your question. Let's see what we have here. Do the custom question responses also have to be exactly as you typed them originally? Yes. So if you typed in, my favorite high school is Dillard High School, and you spelled Dillard in all caps, then you need to write your answer. Your answer also needs to be in all caps. Again, this is a security feature. They want to make sure that no one else can access your information. And when it comes to the financial aid application, same rules apply. When you're entering information, especially dealing with tax information, everything that's on your taxes has to look exactly, everything on the FAFSA has to mirror exactly what your taxes look like. So if in your taxes or your parents' taxes, if the name is written in all caps, everything on the FAFSA application has to be written in all caps. So just make sure everything matches. But that's why it's important to write all of this stuff down. Capture it, save it in a document somewhere, okay? Any other questions before I move on? Just want to make sure I cover them. If not, then we can always come back. Okay, great, awesome. All right, so we've talked about the FSA ID. We showed you a little video and I kind of gave you some steps along the way. Now let's talk about the purpose of completing a FAFSA. Again, we're not going to go through the FAFSA application. We're going to talk about the purpose of completing a FAFSA. Once your FAFSA is complete, you'll receive information regarding one of the 4 awards that's listed here. Let's start with grants. Can anybody tell me the difference between a grant and a loan? And if you've heard this question asked before, if I've asked it and you've answered it before, then I'm going to ask you to stay muted. But if you know the answer, then unmute yourself. I want to hear from you. What is the difference between a grant and a loan? Who's going to be our first taker? Will anyone step up to the plate? All right, I think somebody put it in the chat. All right, so Nadira says a grant doesn't have to be paid back, while loans do. They collect interest. Nadira, you are 1000% correct. Grants do not have to be paid back. They are granted to you. That's why this picture is so telling. It's the government giving you the money to go to school, saying, hey, take this money out of my hands, it's yours. Student loans, on the other hand, they have to be paid back, but I want to stick with grants for 1 second. Grants don't have to be paid back, provided you are passing all of your classes. If you begin to slip, if your GPA begins to fall and you're placed on academic probation, and you don't rescue yourself from academic probation, and now you fell out of your semester, you can lose your grant, and in most cases, you even have to pay that grant money back. That's when you pay it back. As long as you are passing your classes, you're good to go. You do not have to pay grants back as long as you're passing. And when we say grants, in terms of the FAFSA, we're referring to the Pell Grant. And I probably should have that written on this presentation, but we're referring to the Pell Grant. That's what it's called. So if you're given the Pell Grant, congratulations, you have enough money to pay for your classes, maybe some money left over to pay for other tuition expenditures, but in most cases, it will cover your classes for about 3 to 4 classes per semester, all right, given where you're going. The maximum number of Pell Grant money you can receive is about $6,400, maybe $6,500. That is the maximum amount that the government issues anyone. So for those of you who decide to go to a community college or a four-year college, that's going to be more than enough to pay for your classes and even pay for some books and other tuition needs or program needs, okay? So that's the Pell Grant. That's one reason why you complete the FAFSA, to see if you're going to earn a Pell Grant. I see the chat lighting up. I'm going to give it a second or two. Let me go through the student loans and then work study before I go to the chat. All right, student loans. So Nadira hit the nail on the head. Anytime you receive a loan, guess what? That loan's going to come with an interest. It doesn't matter if it's a car loan, home loan, personal loan, it doesn't matter, and even a student loan. So the government will give you money, and 9 times out of 10, everyone's going to receive a student loan. Why wouldn't they? They want to make money back. But again, with that, you have to pay the loan back. Typically, you wait about 6 months after you graduate with your degree, after you earn your degree, before you start paying those student loans back. However, if you fail out of your classes or if you stop taking courses for longer than a year and you are now inactive, you're listed as inactive, then those loans will begin kicking in because the government says, okay, it looks like you have decided you're done with school, you don't want to pursue, so let's collect our money back now. And of course, that means you'll be hit with those interest rates. All right. But as long as you're actively taking classes and passing them, then you'll continue using loans. Now, I believe Coach Mo, for those of you who were here during her presentation, and even Shedley Cassius, the scholarship plug, they both said when it comes to taking loans, only accept what you need. So if you know your first semester is going to total $1,000, but your loan for that semester is worth $3,000, do you need to take the extra $2,000? Probably not, because if you do, guess what? You have to pay that back plus interest, and that's where a lot of people go wrong. That's why people leave college with a $30,000 debt just for an AA degree. You know, an AA degree typically should cost you about $15,000, $10,000 on the low end, maybe even $8,000 on an even lower end. But people leave with $30,000, $20,000 in debt because they're taking more money than they need. So if you have to use a loan, only take what you need from that loan. Okay, I want to point that out. All right, I see the chat is buzzing. I'm going to stop for 1 second. Let's see what's going on in the chat. I want to make sure. All right, so someone says, do I have to wait for October 2021 to do the 21-22 FAFSA if I'm a graduate student? So you've graduated high school already, is that correct? And I don't see who this is from. Yes. Okay, when are you planning on taking your classes? Are you planning on starting in the fall? Okay, and then my other question is this, and it's probably a no, but have you already completed a FAFSA application? You have. Okay, so then you need to do one for the fall year. Now, in the FAFSA application, it gives you an option to do the current year and the future year. So if you did the current year, which was last year, then you're covered up to the summer semester. Well, summer school is basically almost done. So most kids are going to be focusing on the fall semester. So you do not have to wait till October 1st to renew your FAFSA application. You can update your FAFSA application. And actually, let's just go to the website now. We're going to take 2 seconds to do this. Give me 2 seconds here. It's better I show you than walk you through it. FAFSA.gov.
So is it true to say, Tron, that first timers do wait for October 1st? And if you're renewing, you can continue. You can renew at any point.
That is correct.
Okay.
That's an easy answer. I was going to show it on the website, but I think I'd have to log in. But easier answer, yes. So feel free to update your FAFSA application as soon as you can. And did we have another question in the chat?
No, just also emphasizing the importance of money up front is easier to get than if you wait till 9 months into the Pell Grant cycle.
Absolutely, absolutely. and money up front and money before you become a senior. So those of you that are freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, we're going to get into some ways of earning money now and even saving money before you move on to college. So let's reshare the screen and pick up where we left off. And I see we've had some other students join us, so thank you very much. I'm so thankful that you took some time to join us today. Greatly appreciate it. All right.
So Tron, can I just verify, the takeaways are create your FSA ID now. If you're first time filling out FAFSA, you need to wait till October 1st for it to reopen, but you want to be early into that cycle to get the maximum amount of Pell Grant funding due you.
Correct.
Okay, cool.
All right, so on the quadrant that we looked at, it talked about work study. So I just said, you know what, instead of me explaining work study, I'm gonna ask YouTube to give me a video link here. And this comes from our financial aid, our FAFSA department, right? So what is federal work study? And you know what, let me just play the video, how about that? And then we'll go into discussion.
Want to earn money while you're in school to help cover tuition and expenses? Work study can help. Work study jobs are usually on campus and may give you experience related to your major. For example, English majors could work in the writing center, or chemistry majors could work in a science lab. Work study jobs are also available in a school's libraries, cafeterias, student unions, cafes, and just about anywhere on campus. Because they are part-time and offer flexible hours, work study jobs give you time to focus on schoolwork. They're available to full or part-time undergraduate, graduate, and professional students. Getting a work study job starts with the free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA, which determines your eligibility for financial aid. The only way to apply for work study is to check the box saying you're interested in work study on the FAFSA. Be sure to complete your FAFSA early. Funds for work study are awarded on a first-come, first-served basis.
Because I know what the rest of that video talks about. So there were two critical things that I want to make sure you understand here. In order to receive FAFSA, and they just talked about it, in order to receive work study or become work study eligible and apply for work study jobs, you have to select work study on your FAFSA application. So a part of this presentation is making sure that you're familiar with some of these terminology. Work study is definitely something, when you see that on your FAFSA, that's something you want to select. All right, the other thing is this. Once you select it, it is first come, first serve. I'll give you a perfect example. I've hired probably over the last year 25 work studies to work virtually in my department here at Broward College in enrollment management. The way we hire our work studies is very unique. We receive a list of eligible work study students every semester, and we get that list maybe about 2 to 3 weeks into the semester. Once we receive that list, we simply send a blast email to all of the students on that list saying we have XYZ positions available for you. And it's first come, first serve. The ones who reply to us first, we interview. And if they're eligible to work, if they meet our criteria, then we hire them on the spot. All right. And you have to go through an HR background process, and it takes a little bit to get that, to get that going. So my first piece of advice is, if you're looking for a work study position, A, make sure you complete the FAFSA and select work study as an option. B, check your student email. While you're in high school and your teachers always say, check your email, check your email. Yes, the same is going to work in college. Make sure you're constantly checking your email. And when you do, you'll run across one of those work study positions. Now, some colleges and universities also list work study positions on their job board. So you can also check your college or university job, or whichever one you go to, a college or university. All right. So that's a little bit about work study. If there are some questions coming in the chat, I'll get to those in a second. But in the interest of time, I want to get through some more of this presentation, because the next thing we're going to talk about is scholarships. I'll tie scholarships to the FAFSA application by saying this. There are some scholarships that require a FAFSA application. There are some scholarships that require a FAFSA application. Now, granted, if you are a sophomore or a freshman and you run across one of those scholarships, 9 times out of 10, that scholarship is actually meant for a senior. So reread the scholarship and make sure that it's something that's applying to a senior, because it should be. That seniors are the ones that complete the FAFSA. But seniors, there are some scholarships that require the FAFSA application on file. If you run across those scholarships before October 1st, don't worry. There are tons of scholarships out there. Just keep looking, and when you complete your FAFSA in October 1st, then you can apply for those scholarships. And I'll go into more about scholarships in a second. A couple of things I want to go over, and I want you to take a screenshot of this. So I want everyone to take some time. If you're on your phone, then screenshot it on your phone. If you're on a laptop, then take a picture with your phone. But I want you to take a picture of this image. This talks about financial aid myths that just completely aren't true, but it baffles parents, it baffles families, and it kind of stifles them from finishing the FAFSA application. So first, your parents are not supporting you financially in college, so you don't have to include their information on the FAFSA. Not true. If your parents are claiming you, if you're not an independent student, then you are dependent. You need your parents' contact information. You need their information on the FAFSA. All right, and that's the bottom left question or bottom left myth that I was reading. Let's move over to the right. You only need to complete the FAFSA once. Not true. As we just learned, if you are a college student, you have to update your FAFSA for the new FAFSA year. So you have to do that at least once a year when you're in college. All right, we'll move over to the third one. You need to have your taxes filed before starting the FAFSA. So this is tricky. If you're a high school student who just recently graduated and you're completing the FAFSA for the first time and you've never had a job, well, guess what? You don't need to list any tax information. And for your parents may be wondering, well, I haven't filed my taxes for this current year, so I can't complete the FAFSA. No, the FAFSA doesn't look at the current year taxes, meaning the taxes that we just filed in 2021. They go back to 2019 for the current year. So you just think going back a full calendar year to that tax filing date. That's what they're referring to. So you don't have to have your current taxes filed. It's the previous taxes that are important. Then we'll go up to the right and it says the FAFSA is difficult to complete. Let me tell you something. Just like I'm reading all of these myths, that's simply all you have to do in the FAFSA. Just read everything, take your time, bullet by bullet. And most of the time, next to some of the trickier questions on the FAFSA application, there's a little question mark. You can click that question mark and it'll further explain what's meant by that question or whatever information they're trying to collect. So just click on those questions and they'll give you help. And then I also put the 1-800 number in the chat. Call that number. Again, they'll walk you through the FAFSA application. And then the last point at the far right, you won't receive financial aid because of how much money your parents earn. That is also a myth. That is not true. Your parents' income is a factor, but the other factors are the number of siblings that live in your house. The other factors are the number of parents that are reporting. So if you have a mother that has, 4 kids or a father that has 4 kids, the government's going to look at that differently than a mother and a father. They're going to look at that differently than a married couple. So it does not impact how much money you earn based on the amount of money you receive. I'm sorry, your financial aid. Let's just reread this. You won't receive financial aid because of how much money your parents earn. So your parents' income doesn't impact you receiving it or not. All of those other factors are considered when completing the FAFSA application. I hope that was clear. I know I kind of stumbled at the end. All right,
no, that was perfect, Tron. And you need the FAFSA either way to be eligible for a number of other scholarships, right?
Correct.
It's a requirement.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Thank you. All right, so hopefully everyone had a chance to take a picture of this or screenshot it. I'll leave it up for 5 seconds, legitimately 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And if you need it, just email us anyway. All right, this is another page. I'm not going to go into this because this takes a little bit too much time to explain, but a lot of times students wonder, well, who is my parent when I'm filling out my FAFSA application? So this may be a little bit blurry. I apologize. It was a screenshot, a screen snippet, and then I had to zoom in on it. But this comes from our financial aid our federal student aid website. So you can just type in Google FAFSA common challenges. And there's a ton of common challenges, but I wanted to point this out for our students that are moving into the 12th grade year or who have recently graduated from high school, because oftentimes they get kind of confused about who's my parent when filling this out. So key point is take a picture of this and then also search FAFSA common challenges. Everything that you're going to experience in terms of questions and concerns on the FAFSA has already been experienced by others and well documented, both by the Federal Student Aid Office and by many other companies and sites. But I always want to go to the source, and that's our Federal Student Aid Office. Okay, I'll give you 5 more seconds to take a snippet of this. 5, 4, 3, 2, and we're moving on. Once you've completed your FAFSA, this is what the confirmation page is going to look like. Everybody receives a FAFSA confirmation page when you complete the FAFSA application, okay? And it happens instantaneously. It's not a process of waiting or a couple of days. No, as soon as you sign and your parent or guardian signs, instantly you get this confirmation page, all right? So here's what's important to note, where the arrows are pointing. Estimated expected family contribution, or known as the EFC, that just tells you how much the government feels your family can contribute to your education. So in this case, the government says, well, this person's family can only contribute $1,000. That's basically what that means. The lower the number, the better your chances are of earning Pell Grant. All right. Then we have, it kind of goes into a little bit more about the EFC, but I want to look here. It says the EFC is not only how much you'll receive, but how much you have to pay for college based on the criteria you provided. The Pell Grant gives you this. It says $4,120. This means you may be eligible to receive $4,120. Now, here's just a little side note. If the government's gonna list a dollar amount, 9 times out of 10, that dollar amount ain't changing. So if they say you're going to get $4,120, you can expect $4,120, and that's in Pell Grant. Direct loans, we also see what you're eligible for on this page as well. So oftentimes I ask students, I say, well, have you completed the FAFSA? Yes. I said, well, do you know what you're eligible for? No, they haven't told us yet. Actually, they do. They tell you as soon as you complete the FAFSA application. And then there's a process that happens internally. There may be verification. Always expect verification. And that's a whole nother ordeal. But as soon as you complete the FAFSA application, you get this page and it tells you. And then the last arrow is you may be eligible to receive other federal, state, or institutional grants, scholarship, and/or, keyword, buzzword, work study. So everything that you need to know immediately is on this confirmation page. Last thing that I'm going to say about FAFSA, and then I'm moving on. A lot of students think that once they've completed the FAFSA, and even if they've read this confirmation page, that they're going to get the money before they start school. That's not how it works. You have to register for classes. Once you register for classes, that's your way of verifying that you're in school and that you need the money. The government doesn't know how much to give you specifically, or when to send it to you, I'm sorry, until you register for classes. When you register, then that's an indicator. It says, oh, John Doe has registered. Now we can start processing the money and putting in their account. So it's not until you register that you get your financial aid money. Okay, just throwing that out there. Any other questions about the FAFSA? I just wanted to explain that a little bit, go over some myths. Hopefully everything was clear. And I'll give you a second or two to unmute or even put it in the chat. I don't see any questions. I don't hear anything. Either that means I did a really good job explaining this stuff, or it means it's 6:40 on a Friday evening and you guys are ready to go on with your day and enjoy 4th of July weekend. So let's just move forward. Dual enrollment. This is something that you hear me talk about all the time. So at the beginning of this presentation, I said, I'm going to share ways where you can save money. And since we're talking about money, that's what financial aid is. This is a form of aid. It's a form of saving money. So what is dual enrollment? I'm going to ask someone to come off mute and just quickly read this for me. Anyone who's used to it, I don't want to call names, but I do see some names in the chat that I could easily call. So if someone can quickly read this for me, and then I'll move on. Any takers?
Sure, I can read it.
Go for it. Thank you.
What is dual enrollment? Dual enrollment is an accelerated program that allows secondary students to take post-secondary coursework and simultaneously can both earn high school and college credit, saving both time and money.
Great. Thank you very much. And who is that? I'm sorry.
Ava.
Ava. Thank you so much, Ava. Ava, what school do you attend, or what school have you graduated from?
Millennium 6 through 12 Collegiate Academy.
Millennium 6 through 12 over in Tamarack, Sunrise, I forget where.
Yes.
Awesome school. Thank you, Ava. I may call on you again if you don't mind. Eligibility requirements. All right, your initial eligibility. You need a minimum unweighted GPA of 3.0, and students that may not know this stuff, feel free to take a screenshot of it. Minimum unweighted high school GPA of 3.0, okay? That's unweighted, not weighted. We know the difference between weighted and unweighted. Weighted includes all those other courses, your electives. The unweighted is the core course, your core classes, so your English, math, etc. All right, college level test scores in English, reading, and math. So that means you have to take one of these 3 exams, the ACT, SAT, or the PERT exam, which is basically a college placement exam. You can take those at Broward College, by the way. You can take the PERT exam, at Broward College. And then permission from a parent, school counselor, and principal. All right, those are the initial eligibility requirements. Continued eligibility, earn a grade of C or higher in each course, but what's really more important is just make sure you maintain the unweighted high school GPA of 3.0, okay? And then each term you have to complete what's called a dual enrollment recommendation form, and I'll explain that in a second. Hopefully you guys had a chance to take a picture of that. These are the placement testing scores. Take a picture of this. I'm not going to go into the numbers and percentages and all that good jazz. Just make sure to take a picture. And I'll give you about 10 seconds to do that. Okay, we're down to 5 seconds. And by the way, this information you can find this stuff on Broward College's website. If you just go to Broward College dual enrollment, all of this stuff is there. All right, dual enrollment versus early admissions. So dual enrollment limits you to 11 credits per term. It can be in any grade in high school. It's not required to enroll in consecutive terms, so you can take it in the fall semester of your freshman year. You could take it in the fall semester of your junior year. All right, and then you take courses at colleges while still attending high school. Early admissions. You must enroll into a minimum of 12 credits, a maximum of 18, and you must be a senior. Okay, that's the difference between dual enrollment and early admissions, but we're going to focus on dual enrollment. All right, did you know something else that you could take a screenshot? Dual enrollment courses will transfer to any Florida public college or university. That is correct. We are taking you're taking courses that are accredited by a regional accreditation body. And those courses are transferable between other regional accredited institutions, for the most part being public colleges. They count towards the beginning of your college transcript, so those credits do carry over. They may not be repeated while still enrolled in the dual enrollment program. That even includes withdrawals. So be careful if you're going to withdraw from a dual enrollment course. Can't repeat it. And then the most important thing and the most popular aspect of dual enrollment is free. It doesn't cost you a dime except for a little bit of time. That's all. All right. The application and tuition fees are waived for dual enrollment students. So why would you not want to take advantage of this, especially if you're a freshman? Why would you not want to start early and knock out those math courses, your English, public speaking? Get that stuff out of the way while you can. Okay. Moving right along, how to get started. Here's what you do. First and foremost, you meet with your guidance counselor to confirm the eligibility requirements, right? So they're going to take a look at all of your GPA, and they're going to take a look at your test scores. All right, the guidance counselor said, yep, you meet everything, you're good to go. The next thing you need to do is apply online. If you need to take the PERT test, again, they'll let you know, okay, you need to take another test. You'll work with your high school counselor to complete the courses. And then you'll submit your dual enrollment recommendation form. So here's what happens. The guidance counselor is going to give you your dual enrollment recommendation form. That form then has to be signed by your parent or guardian, given back to the guidance counselor for signature, and then the principal as well. Here's key. Here's what's key about this process, the getting started process. The guidance counselor is your point of contact. They're the person that sets all this up, not your brace advisor, not a teacher, it's your guidance counselor. So if you don't know who your guidance counselor is next year, make that a goal. Find out who the 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade guidance counselor is. And maybe your school is set up differently. So just find out who is your point of contact and guidance and reach out to them. Heck, you may want to try to reach out during the summer. You never know if they're going to respond or not. All right, but as soon as school year starts, reach out to your guidance counselor, tell them you want to sign up for dual enrollment.
So
All
Tron,
right. Yes.
this is just so excellent. I want to thank you so much. So clear, so concise, so helpful. Just to be clear, dual enrollment with BC, right? We know that that's at College Academy. There are other colleges that also offer dual enrollment within Broward schools. We may not have the details for how, oh, there you go. You're gonna
Yep.
get to,
I got you, Colleen.
I'll be quiet. Thanks.
I got you. So I'm not going to go into detail in terms of how to points of contact at these places, but here are other schools, other universities, as a matter of fact, that offer dual enrollment. So BC is one of them. FAU, UF has a dual enrollment program, and also what should be on here is FIU. FIU also has a dual enrollment program. But here's the thing: your guidance counselor is going to tell you which schools have which dual enrollment contracts. So some schools, most schools in Broward County have a contract. Most. There are some schools that have a dual enrollment contract or agreement with FAU, FIU, and even UF. But your guidance counselor is going to be the one to tell you that, and they're going to give you the process of starting your dual enrollment courses. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And why would you want to go to BC versus FAU or FIU versus UF? Well, if there's a program that you want to take at FIU, the first step is applying to FIU as a dual enrollment student, but that application's already on file. That means they're already tracking your progress. So you can start taking dual enrollment courses that tie into an articulated program, meaning if you're an engineering student, you're into civil engineering, and FIU has an engineering program that offers dual enrollment courses, then you can essentially take dual enrollment engineering courses. I'm sorry, let me phrase it. You can essentially take engineering courses while you're in dual enrollment, okay? Again, your guidance counselor will work with you on that process and getting signed up for those courses, but there are other universities that offer dual enrollment courses. It all depends on if your school has a contract with them, okay? And honestly, that was the only thing I wanted to point out here, that this goes into a little bit more detail about the semesters, but again, I'm gonna refer you back to your guidance counselor on that. Okay, and then these are some dual enrollment guidelines for 12th grade guidelines, but same rule applies. FAU, FIU, UF, BC, those are basically your options. All
And
right.
Chad has
Yes.
a good question about AP classes versus dual enrollment in the chat.
Okay, what's the question?
Chad, you want to come off mute?
Or is it in the chat? I can read it in the chat if he's not able to.
It's
Okay.
in the chat, yeah.
All right, okay, I see it. A guidance counselor told me once that AP classes were just as good instead of trying to take dual enrollment classes in the fall. Is that true if seniors complete their high school diploma recs this summer? So you can transfer AP classes to your college, to your post-secondary institution. So, but I'm not going to answer, I can't answer whether or not an AP is just as good of taking versus a dual enrollment course. Dual enrollment classes give you college level experience. You're taught by a professor in most cases. I believe some teachers in high schools can teach dual enrollment courses, but that's because they have adjunct level permission. So they can teach as an adjunct or they can teach as a professor. But the difference between the two is AP courses are taught by your teachers in high school. Dual enrollment courses are taught by professors and adjuncts and part-time professors and things of that nature. And you take those dual enrollment courses at the college. Sometimes you'll take dual enrollment courses online in high school, but most of the time we're offering dual enrollment courses on college campuses. So that's the difference. But both of those will transfer to any post-secondary institution, public post-secondary institution, whether it's AP or dual enrollment. Chad, I hope that answers your question. And then one other question here, DE takes 2 years to finish, correct? Then what happens when you want to take it your 12th grade year or the summer after 12th grade? All right, so dual enrollment does not take 2 years to finish. There is no time limit on dual enrollment. You take dual enrollment, so if you're a freshman, let's start from the beginning. If you're a freshman, you're not gonna be able to take dual enrollment in August, because there's no way you're going to know who your guidance counselor is. You haven't even established a GPA or taken a single SAT, ACT test. So what you do is you go through that first quarter in your freshman year, you establish your GPA. So you make sure to get a 4.0, I'm just saying. And then you reach out to your guidance counselor and you say, hey, you know what, this work is pretty easy. I want to move up to an AP class or honors level course, and I'm interested in dual enrollment. Your guidance counselor is going to sit down, look at your grades, your GPA, and they're going to say, okay, it looks like you can manage a dual enrollment course or two. Let's have you take either the SAT, ACT, or college placement exam. You'll take those exams, see how you fare. And if you meet the criteria, then you can start dual enrollment your freshman year in January. That's the earliest you can start dual enrollment as a freshman. Most students start their dual enrollment courses in their sophomore year just because there's so much going on as a freshman. You're just trying to understand high school, right? I don't know, y'all are kind of advanced nowadays. But for me, my freshman year was a blur. So the only time that I would have taken dual enrollment was starting in my sophomore year. But that's how you start. You start in your freshman year, establish your GPA, meet with your guidance counselor, and then they'll see if you're eligible, or they'll see if you're prepared to take an exam or two. And typically they reach out to your parents. So anytime you want to do this, make sure you let your parents know, of course, first. And then the guidance counselor will also give some information to the parents. Victoria, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, all right, great. All right, and I see it answers your question, Chad. Awesome, great. Those are some myths that we got out the way. How much time do we have left? Wow, time is flying. Colleen, I'm gonna need about an extra hour. No, I can do this in an extra 59 minutes. I'm just joking. I'll try to wrap this up as soon as I can.
Okay.
All right. How much money goes unclaimed every year? Well, instead of me asking you guys this question and having everybody guess, how about I just tell you how much money goes unclaimed each year? High school graduates who don't complete a federal financial aid application miss their opportunity for part of $2.6 billion in free money. Chad, you know this. We just talked about this a couple of weeks ago at the police youth group. The money went unclaimed by 661 members of the class of 2018 who are eligible for Pell Grant, but just simply didn't complete the application. There's a video that goes on to talk about this. I'm not going to go through the video, but it verifies, it confirms everything that I just said here. And it's a video that's recorded by a news station, a local news station. So it's credible. And they're just, everyone's jaws just hit the ground when they talked about all the money that goes unclaimed. So at the beginning of this presentation, I talked about institutional awards, financial aid, and then private awards. I'm going to quickly run through institutional aid. So this is an example of institutional aid. These are scholarships or aid that is given by Broward College, the American Dream, and then Broward Futures, not to be confused with Bright Futures, but Broward Futures. So let's look at Broward Futures over to the right. Broward Futures provides an opportunity for incoming freshmen. So for those that are coming to BC, make sure to complete the Broward Futures Scholarship, I'm just saying. It covers the cost of tuition and institutional fees. So all of those extra fees that you pay in college is gonna cover all that stuff, up to 30 credit hours annually each academic year, all right? How many credit hours does it take to earn your associate's degree? Let's put that in the chat. This should be an easy question. How many credit hours does it take to earn your associate's degree? Let's see. And we'll just say AA degree, Associate of Arts. How many credit hours does it take? College credit hours. How many credit hours does it take? No one's putting it in the chat. Come on, I know we have to have the answer. We gotta have the answer. Somebody's got it. And you can unmute as well. The question again?
We've got 3 answers in the chat. 60, 64, 180.
Okay, so the answer is, drum roll please, 60. It takes 60 credit hours, college credit hours, to earn your Associate of Arts degree. So when we look at this institutional award that Broward College is offering, it says we cover the cost of tuition and institutional fees up to 30 credit hours per academic year. So that's 30 credits in 1 year, 30 credits in the second year. That's 2 years, that equals 60 credits. So in other words, Broward Futures will help you earn your associate's degree, 60 credits, 30 credits per academic year. All right, that's what Broward Futures will allow you to do, okay? So institutional aid, how does that work? That is an institution giving you money to take a course or take programming at their institution. You cannot take the Broward Futures Scholarship to Tron University or Chad University or Colleen University and spend that money there. Nope, the institution that's giving you the aid is the institution that keeps the aid. Essentially, as you can see in this description, institutional grants are a reduction in the sticker price, also called discounting. When the money comes from the institution versus an outside source like Pell Grant, it's called institutional aid, and these discounts are typically grants and scholarships, which you don't have to pay back. And you also can't use them anywhere else except at that institution. Now, a lot of students, they go crazy when somebody gives them money, and that's great, you should. In most cases, public schools are gonna give you enough money to cover your tuition or to cover a low-cost tuition. When you start going to private schools, be careful, because an AA degree at Broward College is gonna cost you about $8,000, right? If you take all the classes, you pass them, you don't have to repeat and all that kind of stuff. It'll cost you about $8,000 to earn an Associate of Arts at Broward College. If you go to private school A, and I'm not gonna name any private schools, but if you go to private school A, an associate's degree could cost you $15,000, $18,000. It'll definitely cost you more than $8,000 to complete. That means the bachelor's degree is gonna be at least double that, right? So a bachelor's degree from a private institution A, B, C could cost you $40,000, $50,000. Now, let me be clear. I'm not telling you not to go to a private school. I'm just giving you the reality of the cost of private school. And that's why you need to earn scholarships. So if you go to a private school and they give you an institutional award and they say, we're giving Chad Jordan $20,000 to come to private school A. Well, really what they're doing is they're discounting their tuition. So their tuition for that bachelor's program may be $50,000. They've given you a $20,000 discount to go to private school A. You still have to come out, you still have to pay $30,000 in tuition, all right? So that's the difference. And I always tell students, look at your local options first. You know, it's just a good idea to do that. Yes, Victoria has her hand raised. Go for it, Victoria.
Hello. My question was, what happens if you go for college, like out of your own state? How would someone handle that situation when it comes to not financial aid, just scholarship in general? Because you said
Institutional grant.
institution.
Got you.
Yeah.
I understand. So there's one thing, and that's a great question, Victoria, and I should probably include that in my next presentation. So there's something called in-state tuition and out-of-state tuition rates. In-state tuition, if you're a Florida resident and you stay here in Florida, whether you go to Broward College, FSU, FIU, wherever you go, the state basically says, thank you for staying here and keeping the dollars in-house. So for that, we're gonna pay you an in-state tuition rate, which is gonna be very low, right? At least low compared to an out-of-state rate. When you go out of the state, that means you're moving into a whole nother territory. So that state says, hey, you know, you didn't take courses there. You know, you have colleges in Florida, but you want to come to us? Okay, we're going to pay you. We're going to charge you a little bit more. We're going to make a little bit more money from you. The out-of-state tuition rates can, in certain cases, be double or twice than the cost of in-state tuition. So anybody that comes to Broward College, I'll give you a perfect example. Anyone who comes to Broward College, one class here at Broward College is going to run you about $353 if you're paying on the in-state tuition rate. But if you are an out-of-state student coming here, that college is going to run you, I believe it's about $1,053. So it basically triples for out-of-state tuition. That's the difference between in-state and out-of-state. Now, if you have scholarships, an abundance of private scholarships, those private scholarships will follow you anywhere you go. And I haven't talked about private scholarships yet, but just know that private scholarships are scholarships given by other agencies, other brand names. So like Adidas, for instance, if you get an Adidas scholarship and it's not tied to a school, that Adidas scholarship will follow you wherever you go. But an institutional award is only for that institution. So if you decide to go to Georgia Southeastern University, I don't even know if it's a real university, but if you decide to go to Georgia University and you earn their institutional award, then that institutional award is going to pay for your tuition rate, and it'll also cover all tuition and fees. All right. I think I answered a part of that question, but essentially you can end up paying out-of-state tuition if you're moving into another state. If you have scholarships to support you, then it'll help with that out-of-state tuition. And here's another thing to keep in mind. There are some states that honor the in-state tuition rate. There are some areas or some schools, I'm sorry, let me be clear. There are some schools within local states that honor your in-state tuition rate. So there are schools in Georgia that actually honor the Florida in-state tuition rate. Not all of the schools do, but some schools do. Okay, did that answer your question or somewhat answer it, Victoria?
Yes, I understand much better now. Thank you.
Okay, and if it doesn't, please let me know because I want to make sure I'm clear. But great, moving right along, and then we're going to close soon, guys, because it's right at 7 o'clock. But I do have some more valuable information for you. How much money can I earn in scholarships? So this is a funny question, but some students ask me this, and I'm like, you don't know the answer? The answer is as much as you want. There's no cap on earning scholarships. As a matter of fact, let me share something with you. Give me 1 second here. Do I have that video prepared? Me thinks I do, and me does. Here we go. Let's watch this video. I'm only going to show you about a minute of this video, maybe a minute and 10 seconds.
High School, it was academic signing day.
And among those in the spotlight were twins from Nigeria. CBS 4's Carly Barnett has their story.
I feel like today is a day for me to be grateful and also to thank those people who have made me, come this far.
It's academic signing day at Miami Central High School, a day to recognize seniors who have been accepted to college on some serious scholarships.
I watch the news, I watch about people who get scholarships, and I can never believe I would get this far too. So it was just, an inspiration to me and a driving force to always pursue my dreams.
Twins, Khalida and Khalid Gawan, are among those recognized.
We moved to Nigeria when I was a little kid, and I spent most of my years in Nigeria. And then I came here at age 14. First, when I came, it was a little bit hard to assimilate because I wasn't used to the culture and everything.
And they're only 16 years old. They both want to enter the healthcare industry. Khalid wants to be a pharmacist, and Khalida an OBGYN. Khalid and his 4.0 average earned him more than $360,000 in scholarships, and his sister's 4.4 average more than $1 million.
As I promised, a minute and 10 seconds. I hope you guys heard those numbers. 300,000 for the brother, 1 million for the sister. Now, they're probably including financial aid, Bright Future Scholarship. They're probably also including institutional award, but I guarantee they're also including some private scholarships. And here are some private scholarships and outside scholarships that you can use, some databases that you can use to find scholarships. These are 3 that I'm putting here on the screen right now. You can write them down. I know some of you have probably heard of these. You should definitely know about Naviance, but capex.com is one of them. Unigo.com is another one. Naviance is right here in your backyard, folks. You have access to Naviance, and I ask this question every time I talk to students. How many of you actually log into Naviance and use the tool? If you're in a public school here in Broward County, especially, I know some charters don't use Naviance, but if you're in a public school, you have Naviance. Naviance has an entire page dedicated to finding scholarships. They have a scholarship report that shows updated scholarships every week, every month. And I'll tell you a quick story. There's a young girl that graduated from Deerfield Beach High School. And there's so many of these stories, but this is the one that stands out to me. She graduated a couple of years ago. She earned about, I want to say it was $40,000, maybe $50,000 worth of scholarship money her senior year in high school. She didn't start applying until her senior year. Come closer to the laptop, folks. I want to make sure y'all get this. And she waited until January to start applying. She applied to 60 to 70 scholarships using Naviance. Here's the part that just blows my mind every time, and I've told this story over 1,000 times. She applied to 60 to 70 scholarships in Naviance. Half of the scholarships were completely vacant, meaning no one else had applied to them. Half the scholars she applied to, she wasn't even eligible for. But because she was the only student to apply, they decided to give her the money. They said, hey, you guys have this listed. No one else applied. It's yours. These donors, these brand name companies, outside agencies, they want to give to you because you're the community. You're the charity. They look at you as charity. And that's fine if you don't feel a certain way about that word, if you don't like the word charity, whatever, it's going to help you get some money, right? And in certain cases, private awards will pay you directly. That's right. When you graduate high school and you register for classes, all you have to do is send that information back to the private donor and let them know, I've registered for classes, I'm ready to start. Once the term starts and you're still in those classes, they'll send you the money directly. All right. In some cases, not all donors, not all private donors do that, or private awarders do that. All right. Now, we know about CapEx, we know about FastWeb, we know about Naviance, and I'm going to close soon. But let's think outside the box. What are some other ways we can find scholarships? Because there has to be other ways to find scholarships, right? Well, what about the foods you eat? Burger King, Wendy's, Pizza Hut, DQ, KFC, McDonald's. What about some of the places you shop? Target, Bed Bath & Beyond, Crate & Barrel, Pottery Barn, Macy's. I want somebody to do me a favor, and I want to do this before we close, and I'm closing in 3 minutes, so you got to act quick. I want somebody to pick any number of these brand names, go to Google, type in the brand name and add scholarship for high school students, or just add scholarships for students, whatever you want to add. But one of those two, scholarships for high school students or scholarships for students. So Bloomingdale, scholarship for students. Let's see, Subway, scholarships for students. Put that in Google and start searching for it, all right? While you're doing that, I'm going to give you guys some other things to think outside of the box. Other name brands, clothing companies, beverages, 7-Up, Fanta, Sierra Mist, Fendi, Prada, Gucci. Think about the cell phone that you use, Samsung, iPhone. Think about the laptop that you're on, the TV that you watch, the cereal on top of your refrigerator, the milk in your refrigerator, anything you can think of, any brand name, any popular brand name, cars. Google that name, add scholarships for students. 9 times out of 10, you're going to find that that brand name is offering you or offering a scholarship. We often put money into those brand names, but we don't get anything back in return. This is one way to get that back. And you, the charity, benefit the most from it because that's who they're targeting. They want to say, I gave Chad Jordan $20,000 to go to college. Way to go, Tron LLC. All right, they want to brag, but hey, get the money in the process. All right, has anyone been able to find scholarships? Did anyone search? And if so, what did you find? I'm going to stop sharing. What did you find? Did anyone find anything? Perfect. Dr. Pepper is giving away $1 million due in November. Thank you, Colleen. Anyone else? What else did we find? What else did we find? I know we're still doing deep dives. What else did we find? Someone has to have found something else. You can put it in the chat or you can unmute. I want at least 3 more examples. Victoria. Okay, Victoria added the Naviance link. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you very much. What else did we find?
There's the Taco Bell. Yeah, the Taco Bell scholarship.
A Taco Bell scholarship, and I eat Taco Bell from time to time. Subway Fresh Start Scholarship for $2,500. Can somebody name me one more? Come on, one more and then we're done. We're out of here in this 4th of July weekend. I'm ready. I got some food in the refrigerator that I got to prepare for my family. I just need one more. Who else found an example? I gave you thousands of examples. Well, not thousands, but hundreds, literally. So come on, somebody give me.
I'm sorry to cut you off on that. I had found a Dairy Queen scholarship for a couple $1,000 actually.
Kayla?
Yes, sir.
Do you eat Dairy Queen?
Of course I do.
You can get some of that money back through scholarships. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, I'm probably going to do some more research, but yes, I'm definitely going to check this out.
Of course, do some more research. All right, they're coming in. You guys get the point. There are some scholarship resources and folks, within the area that talk about scholarships. You can search them up on your own. But it's very simple, guys. And when it comes to applying for scholarships, I've taken so much of your time already. Colleen, do we have time for a simple scholarship practice that'll make writing essays very easy for students?
Yes, and register for Shedley's next scholarship workshop. This is so critical. Scholarships are so important. Take the time, devote time, apply. The sooner the better, the more the better. Yes, I would. We're going to go and take another 5 minutes for Tron to speak. Those that have to leave, happy 4th to you. And those that can stay on, I think this is incredibly valuable information. So let's go for it, Tron.
Thank you. All right. All right. So here we go. 5 minutes, guys. I'm going to give you a tip for writing scholarship essays. All right. Tip number one, the first thing you need to know is this. There are 3 essay questions that most scholarship essays are going to ask. 3 generic, just general questions. Be ahead of the curve. Get ahead of the game. The first question is this, and I want you to write this down or type this in your phone, whatever. First question is this. What are your career goals? Now, they may phrase that question in a different way. They may say, what's your career of interest? What do you want to study? Why do you want to study it? Whatever. What are your career goals? The second question is this. Tell us about yourself, right? So a biography, talking about your ups and downs, trials and tribulations. How did you make it here? How did you reach this point in your life? Or what did you go through? Make it an interesting story, right? So basically a biography on who you are. So tell us more about you. The third essay question typically is, what are your dreams and aspirations? Like, do you want to cure hunger? Do you want to come up with a cure for the common cold? All those kind of things. Again, career goals, personal biography, who you are, ups and downs, highlights of your life. And then thank you, Colleen. And then what are your dreams and aspirations? And absolutely think big. The bigger, the better. All right. Let's get ahead of the curve now. Start writing essays for each of those topics. I promise you, take an hour to 2 hours to begin writing, then take another hour, 2 hours the next day to finish writing. Knock it out now. And there's no excuse for this. Each of those essays needs to be 500 words, okay? No more than 500 words max. I'd say no less than 450, 400, definitely no less than that. But 500 words each. Write those essays out, okay? Have a parent, have a friend, have somebody read them. Thank you, Ava, thank you, I appreciate that. Have somebody reread them, go over it, make sure that everything's grammatically correct. And then guess what? When you run across those questions, you'll have a core, you'll have a template that you can refer to, change some verbiage, change the title of the scholarship, obviously, or the name of the scholarship and who it's going to, and submit it. It just becomes one continuous machine, right? You're just spitting out these essays, piece after piece, scholarship after scholarship. But you'll have those 3 main essay questions written. Now, not every scholarship is going to ask those, but a large percentage will ask those questions. And students always sit down and go, oh no, I have to write another one of these. No, just write it now, okay? So those are 3 things that you can do. Here's another piece of advice. Look for scholarships that don't require essays. You can do that in Naviance, as a matter of fact. There's an option in Naviance that says scholarships with essays, scholarships without essays. So you can check that box, and guess what? You don't even have to worry about looking for scholarships with essays. And most of you should still have access to Naviance right now. I don't think they cut your access off just yet, so somebody can confirm that. But you usually have access, even if you're a senior, usually have access up until the end of summer, unless they've gotten a lot stricter with that. But you still have access. So look for those scholarships without. There are some scholarships that only require you to take a selfie. Scholarships that require a picture, a post on Instagram, but there's tons of stuff out there. And Victoria confirmed there's still access. Thank you, Victoria. There is still access to Naviance. So you guys can actually start this weekend. The last thing I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna wrap up because I said 5 minutes. Take time out of your day to apply to scholarships. I mean, seriously. And Colleen, we were talking about this earlier. A lot of you get caught up on what's going on in social media land, but is social media paying you? And if it is, great. But take time out of your day, allocate a certain amount of time a day, and make a goal for yourself. I like to put more on my plate than I could probably handle. So I would say maybe 5 scholarships a week. I think 1 a week is just not enough. But once you have these essays written and you start going through the different scholarship avenues, where to find them, 5 scholarships a week is not that hard. And it's for your future. It's for scholarships that will potentially put money in your pocket, but at the end of the day, will pay your tuition. And as I showed you in the previous video, you can earn as much money as you want. I know a guy that has we graduated the same year. I graduated with $10,000. He graduated with about $150,000. He bought a car out of that. He put a down payment on his condo that he recently sold. And he used the rest to pay for his bachelor's and his master's degree. So the money's out there, all right? When should you start doing the scholarships? 9th, 10th, or 11th grade? You should definitely start no later than your 9th grade year. And if you're a sophomore, no later than your sophomore year. If you're a junior, okay, you get it. So it doesn't matter when you start. You can start in your 9th grade year for sure, all right? Okay, everyone, that is my time. I don't want to hold you, and I see the love in the chat. You're welcome, you're welcome. Yep, I hope this information was beneficial to everyone. And look, not going to take any of your time. I'm just going to tell you thank you on behalf of Bridge to Life. Thank you on behalf of myself, Colleen. You guys have been such a joy to work with throughout these first 2 weeks of summer planning. And guess what? We got 3 more weeks to go. Colleen, what are we thinking? Well, we have 3 more weeks of summer planning to go. And it's our pleasure to do it. We take time out of our day to you. And yes, Hubert, I see your message. So yes, I'm going to send you my email address now. So thank you very much, guys. Enjoy your weekend. Happy 4th. Whatever you're doing this weekend, have fun and be safe. And before we close out, I just need to send some information to Hubert. Okay.